Negreanu is looking down on pocket deuces. Luca opens to 30k with pocket nines, a bread-and-butter early raise that covers a wide band of low and middling boards and pressures the offsuit broadways behind him. The hand wants callers who show up with overcards and then miss. It also doesn't mind playing smaller pots where it can value bet cleanly across safe runouts. Negreanu flat calls with pocket deuces. Small pairs love this configuration. He has position to control price. Stacks are deep enough to realize implied odds, and keeping it single raise preserves all the set and wheel runouts that print against one pair. Turning deuces into a 3-bet would just funnel Luca into strong overpairs and invite a 4-bet. Calling keeps the deck wide and the story flexible. The flop comes low and connected, exactly the texture where the caller can credibly have all the sets and the occasional 4-2 or 6-5. Luca makes the routine range C-bet for 28k. On this board, the small size folds out pure air, taxes random overcards like ace-queen, and keeps worse-made hands honest without bloating the pot or polarizing his range. Negreanu's raise to 95k from this configuration is perfectly believable. He's repping sets, 2-pair like 6-5 suited, and some straights. With deuces, he isn't spinning it. He holds a live gutter to the wheel plus 2 cleanouts to a set, so he's applying pressure with real equity while seizing the narrative. The sizing forces overpairs and top pairs to define themselves now, rather than getting a cheap turn that could punish them. Luca's call protects his overpairs and some slow plays, but it also hands tempo to Negreanu and nudges Luca toward a bluff catch posture on a lot of turns. He's inviting Negreanu to keep telling the story and hoping to catch him on a bad card. The turn pairs the 3 and Luca checks. It's a tricky card for both players. It slightly trims the number of set combos. Negreanu repped on the flop, while making overpairs feel a touch safer against bluffs and draws. Negreanu checks back. That's the discipline pivot. Firing again would polarize on a card that dulls his set story and invites stubborn calls from exactly the hands he wants to move on the river. The river is the 8 of clubs, and Luca checks a 3rd time. After flop pressure and turn control, that 3rd check leaves his range heavy on single pair hands that hate facing a big ask.
Daniel bets ridiculously big, 400k. Wow. And Luca folds.
Phil Ivey is looking down on 8-6 offsuit. Vanessa makes it 25k with pocket 7's bread and butter early value that plays beautifully on low textures and keeps worse pairs and broadways defending. Artem overcalls, sweetening the price. Phil Ivey flats purposefully. 8-6 thrives deep and multi-way, makes nutted straights on boards early raisers hate, and carries just enough backdoor potential to pressure later streets. The flop falls low and connected. Artem checks and Phil fires 50k when checked to. Into 2 players and on a dynamic board, that stab credibly represents sets, 2-pair, and strong draws, while letting him realize his equity with the open-ender plus the 6 of clubs as a valuable blocker. Vanessa just calls with top set. Raising would narrow ranges to strong draws and made flushes later. Calling keeps Phil's bluffs and semi-bluffs alive, invites Artem to continue, and disguises the real strength of her hand on a texture that can shift quickly. The turn is the 10 of clubs, completing the front door. Artem checks again and Phil barrels 150k. That card is a green light for continued pressure. If he's bluffing, the club gives him story and leverage. If he's value, he wants to tax sets and 1-pair hands immediately. The 6 of clubs in his hand trims the strongest flush combos Vanessa can have. Vanessa's call is disciplined. She retains all her full house redraws, avoids isolating herself versus made flushes, and keeps Phil's entire range pointed at a river decision. The river is the 4 of hearts. No new club appears, but one of Phil's key rivers does. The straight gets there.
Phil Ivey, everybody, best in the world. Cracks 7s with 8-6, the classic.
While we wait for Phil Ivey to make his decision, please click the like button. It helps out a lot, thank you. He chooses 400k, a polarizing bomb that plays perfectly against the range Vanessa has represented by calling twice, overpairs without a club, 7s that didn't raise, and some cautious club hands. With the 6 of clubs blocker reducing nut flush combos and a coherent story from flop to river, this sizing forces exactly the kind of uncomfortable, high-stakes decision he's been building toward all hand.
She folds! She made that look so easy.
Not the turn I wanted to see.
3-7?
Negreanu is looking down on 10-9 suited. Shlomi opens to $475 with pocket kings, the classic early position value raise that invites dominated high cards to make mistakes. Boniati flats behind, a routine set mine that keeps the opener wide and creates a pot where overpairs are forced to play multi-way. On the button, Negreanu overcalls with 10-9 suited. He buys position against a likely overpair, keeps the pot single raised so his connected hand can realize, and preserves a post-flop story that can credibly arrive at straights and 2-pair on many middling runouts. With 3 players and deep stacks, Negreanu's plan is to control price now and fight for leverage later. The board rolls out wet and middle, exactly the texture that pressures an opener's range. Shlomi continuation bets $1,525 into two opponents to tax the spades and charge the gutters while protecting his likely overpair. Boniati steps aside, Negreanu continues. With top pair, strong kicker for this configuration, and position, calling is superior to raising. It keeps Shlomi's bluffs alive, avoids isolating versus the strongest value, and retains every turn card that can add equity or scare an overpair. He's now set up to maneuver without inflating the pot unnecessarily. The Queen of Hearts lands. That card is fine for kings, but improves Negreanu's believable value region to include Queen 9 and some two-pair that could have peeled. Shlomi opts for a measured $2,125, continuing his value protection line, without bloating the pot on a card that helps the caller more than the pre-flop raiser. Negreanu calls again, disciplined and deliberate. He keeps his range uncapped, realizes equity with 10-9, and holds the option to seize the narrative on favorable rivers, or punish thin value bets with a polarizing raise. The river is the 8 of clubs, a quiet but meaningful shift that completes 6-7 and strengthens combos like 9-8 that Negreanu can absolutely show up with. Shlomi puts out a small $3,000 bet, more price setting than power, trying to get looked up by worse pairs while avoiding a big decision. Negreanu springs the trap to $12,800, polarizing himself to straights, two-pair, or sets, and telling a story perfectly consistent with his passive turn. 10-9 is a sharp candidate. It blocks calls from Queen 9, doesn't block missed spades, and represents exactly the value holdings that beat an overpair.
Aces or kings? Can I say that, or is that illegal? Heads up. I can say what he has, but not what I have. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking aces or kings.
I appreciate you watching this far. Could you please give this video a like? Thank you.
And Shlomi's now thinking, if you've read me for aces or kings, surely you can beat aces or kings. I have to fold.
Negreanu is looking down on ace-jack offsuit. He opens to 400 in Torelli flats with pocket fives, a perfect depth and position call that set mines while keeping Negreanu's weaker aces and broadways in. Pocket fives thrive in exactly this configuration. Stacks are deep enough to realize implied odds, position is secured on the raiser, and there are aggressive players behind who may overcall and sweeten the price. Turning fives into a 3-bet would narrow Negreanu to a tough, high-card range and invite a 4-bet that forces the pair into a guessy spot or a fold. The flop comes Queen 5-2 with 2 clubs, and the initiative shifts. Negreanu has range advantage and fires $1,150, a small c-bet that folds out the air and taxes hands like Ace-X without a club while still keeping dominated queens in.
Over half pot into 4 opponents, this bet should come free with a drink at the bar because it is a little nuts.
Torelli springs the value raise to $2,500 with middle set. It builds the pot, protects against club and straight runouts, and forces Negreanu to define his hand. Negreanu's call is the right kind of stubborn. With ace-jack, he has 2 clean overcards. The nut club backdoor via the ace of clubs, and he keeps Torelli's bluffs and thinner value lines alive, rather than turning his hand into a bluff with a 3-bet. The turn is the jack of clubs, and it's a huge texture shift for Negreanu's strategy even though he's still behind. He pairs up, picks up the nut club blocker, and leads 3,100 into a range that just advertised strength on the flop. The donk bet does several jobs at once. It denies a free card to ace-queen and king-queen with a club. It prevents Torelli from setting the price with all of his strong but vulnerable hands. And it tells a story consistent with a flush that arrived and now wants value. Torelli's call keeps the trap set with his set of fives, but notice how the informational asymmetry flips. Negreanu has seized the narrative and gets to choose the river cadence. The river is the ace of diamonds, pairing Negreanu to aces and jacks and leaving the front door clubs unchanged.
And he moves all in. We could be about to lose Daniel Negreanu.
And immediately turns to the weapon that separates him from almost everyone else at the table, live read pressure via table talk. He starts narrating the hand out loud in a way that pins Torelli to a category.
Got ace, queen of hearts or something?
Alternating confidence with doubt so that every nod in Torelli's head feels recognized. He sprinkles in just enough truth to be believable.
It's like I want to fold.
Really?
You have a what?
I want to fold.
You don't have a fold?
No, I want to fold.
Oh,
I wanted to
do you have
fold
ace, queen of hearts? Is that what you have? 'Cause that's kind of what I put you on.
Fold the damn turn.
Ace, queen of hearts might get half. Go for the high, I'll take the low.
Might get half. That's good.
I appreciate you watching this far. If you're enjoying these videos, hit that like button. It really helps me out. Thank you.
You're special, though.
That's what I've been told. He had fives?
Ding!
And he lays it down. He folds the set.
Show like a red 9 and you're my hero.
I'll show you one card, that's good. Let's see.
King of clubs.
Wow! What a card, right?
Nozaki takes the most profitable path out of position, a squeeze to 56k. The size is on point, big enough to deny set mine pricing, small enough to keep worse pairs and broadways attached. Garcia's call continues a wide UTG range that wants to realize position. Drinan comes along because he's deep, in position, and one 5-to-1 set rolls off often enough to justify the peel.
Well, there's a 9 and a 4 set over set sickness.
On the flop, range meets board in a dangerous way. Nozaki has the top of everything. Top set and C-bets, just 63k. That sizing is perfect here. It prices out the pure air, charges the spade draws and gutters, and crucially leaves room for worse to continue or bluff raise. Garcia picks up an inside straight draw plus backdoor diamonds, calling pressures. Nozaki's ace highs without overcommitting. Drinan, with bottom set, chooses the flat rather than the raise. Multi-way, raising folds the bluffs and isolates him against overpairs with a spade or the two higher sets that beats him. Calling keeps Nozaki firing and lets Garcia continue with dominated draws. The turn is a total brick. Nozaki checks. A trap that leverages his stack to pot, 255k behind, sets up a clean check jam over any stab. Garcia obliges for 157k, representing big spades, overpairs, and the occasional slow-played set while using his equity to pressure-capped one pair. Drinan's call with a set is the KG pot control line in position. It keeps Garcia's bluffs in and invites Nozaki to make a mistake. Instead, Nozaki springs the trap.
I'm ordering.
The pricing is brutal. Garcia needs 98k more into a mountain and can't release a straight draw. Drinan is never folding a set for that price. Both call, and Nozaki has them drawing thin to redraws and counterfeit outs. The front door spade misses and the board pairs again. With Nozaki all in and the side pot being non-existent, Garcia and Drinan check it down, not willing to risk any more on this already insane hand.
Two pair.
Yeah. Yeah, lucky day.
At least he gets that this is not common.
Nick Airball finds ace-king suited in late position and turns the pre-flop spot into a squeeze. His 3-bet to 10k is perfect at these depths. It punishes flats, leverages two premium blockers, and sets up a post-flop range edge against the blinds. Ryan defends the big blind with pocket queens, a disciplined cold call that keeps worse in and avoids getting 4-bet into a nightmare. Calling also disguises his hand. If the board doesn't spike an ace or king, he'll realize well from out of position. The flop is range heaven for the 3-better and exactly the sort of board where Nick's holding sits on top. He goes tiny for 4k. On high card, Rainbow textures the small stab is doing two jobs at once. It taxes stubborn middling pairs and extracts from dominated top pairs without polarizing his range. Ryan's call is perfect. Raising turns his hand face up and risks folding out all the second best value that will keep betting for him. Calling keeps Nick's range uncapped and preserves the trap. The turn is a brick that mostly freezes ranges. Nick continues for 16k. That second small barrel keeps pressure on exactly Ryan's hand class. Strong but not invincible, and prevents the pot from getting checked through to a river that could counterfeit value. Ryan calls again, which effectively caps him under ace-king and kings, while keeping worse ace-x and the occasional floated queen in. The river pairs with the king of clubs and the board flips hard toward Nick. Ryan checks for the third time, and Nick unloads 85k.
I don't think I'm folding, but that was like the stupidest river.
Wow, and Ryan seems to have a pretty good read on what's going on here.
It's a great value sizing on paired top card rivers. The big bet forces queens, king-queen, and even some ace-queen to make a miserable decision. Ryan can't find the fold and gets shown the bad news.
Nice slow roll.
Nick Airball opens the cutoff to 2k and several players peel, Ryan among them from the big blind with king 10 suited. Multi-way changes everything. Opening ranges widen, top pair shrinks in relative value, and the pre-flop raiser's c-bet frequency plummets unless he can bet small and target a lot of second-best hands. The flop is a complete collision for the two we're tracking. Ryan flops trips. Nick already holds sevens full of kings. Into a field, this bet is powerful because it looks like automatic c-bet, while actually extracting from every king and diamond draw without scaring them off. Raising from Ryan would polarize him into exactly boats or bluffs and punt value against the rest of the table, so he just calls and keeps worse kings and bluffs in front of him. The turn brings the queen of hearts. Ryan checks again and Nick follows with another small value bet, 5k. That sizing continues the same story. It prices in dominated kings and sticky pocket pairs while keeping the pot multi-way friendly. If Nick goes big here, he folds out too much of the range he's targeting and isolates himself versus better kings. The river is the 10 of hearts and the script flips. After 2 streets of check call, he now leads for 20K. That river donk is smart for 2 reasons. First, the board texture can slow Nick's betting cadence and risk a check back. Second, compared with the first hand, where Ryan faced a big river blast, leading lets him set the price and guarantee value from worse boats and stubborn kings that hate folding.
Tonight,
Bad feeling about this one. I have a full house.
Me too.
Ryan leads. Nick just calls, and Ryan
It's Evans. Wow.
wins a pot of $66,000.